dziewczyny kochanej, jak wiosny budzącej się bieg, jak świergot jaskółek nad ranem, młodzieńcze uczucia nieznane, jak rosa błyszcząca na trawie, miłości rodzącej się bieg. Tak serce raduje piosenki tej śpiew, piosenki o mojej Warszawie. Jak pragnąłbym krokiem beztroskim odnaleźć wędrówek mych ślad, bez celu się przejść marszałkowską, na Wisłę napatrzeć się z mostu, dziewiątką pojechać w aleję i z tłumem się wpleść w nowy świat i ujrzeć jak dawniej za młodych mych lat, jak do mnie Warszawo się śmiejesz. Wiem, żeś ty dzisiaj nie taka, że krwawe przeżyłaś już dni, że rozpacz i ból cię przygniata, że muszę nad tobą zapłakać, lecz taką jak żyjesz w pamięci przywrócę ofiarą swej krwi. I wierz mi, Warszawo, prócz piosenki i łzy, jam gotów ci życie poświęcić.
Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor. I used to play this piece of music, at least the simplified version, on the piano. I was 11 or 12 when I played Rachmaninoff's Prelude. It was the last piece of music that I played before giving up the piano for the clarinet, which I never really played that well. But when you're in junior high school, you join the band, and never mind that you leave behind what you really love to do. This video is about the past, an imagined past, created from what I fantasize my previous life to have been. Yes, in Judaism there is room for many lives and many masters, where your soul comes back to perform mitzvot in additional lifetimes. Vered, Eli'S journal, is the story of my previous life in Poland in the 1930s, which I wrote in an attempt to answer a question that gnawed for years. Why did I choose to become a rabbi? In the fantasy, I begin to imagine that I was a rabbi in Poland, who upon ordination from a prestigious Lublin academy, chose not a life of scholarship, but rather to join a Jewish brigade of the Polish resistance against the promised invasion by Nazi Germany. As I say in the story, with Hitler there is little or no hope for the Jews of Europe, and if and when the end comes, for me, I choose to go down fighting with a gun in my hand. Come with me as I share a few excerpts of Vered, Eli'S journal. Vered is a pianist, and so the story will be told with musical compositions played by my niece Linda Ann Singer. A word before we start about Eli and Vered. Vered and Eli lived in a previous time and place, and today there is no telling where they may be found. Who knows, but that both may, from time to time, turn up in you or me. Eli and Vered are many, not just one. At times in life, they have been my fellow travelers, at others my guide and teacher, and still at others they have vacillated between being the source of life itself and life's very nemesis. If you ever encounter Vered or Eli, I hope you will enjoy their strength, passion, and love of life, and be encouraged as I to live the same. We meet Eli and Vered in Warsaw. It is Hanukkah, 1938. Eli is a recently ordained rabbi who, having left the world of rabbinic studies and joined the Polish underground, has been sent to the Warsaw palatial home of the prominent Epstein family to raise funds for his Jewish brigade. Eli is standing on a landing of the stairway open to the grand salon below. Jacob Epstein invites the guests to be seated, calling attention to the program handed out by the butler. Eli glances at the paper and sees the picture of a young girl playfully relaxing on a swing. The caption reading, Vered Epstein, student at Akademie der Kunst, Berlin, Germany, State School of Music. Though the picture is in black and white, Eli could see that it was of the woman standing a few feet from him. In his own words, my eye caught sight of one of the most radiantly beautiful women I'd ever seen. I tried not to stare. She had long, flowing red hair, cascading down her shoulders, large green eyes that seemed to sparkle like emeralds. With lips tinged as slate red, she spoke in quiet tones to the man standing next to her. Her face had a relaxed confidence, a look of a woman who knew what she was about. The black sweater she wore softly moved off her shoulders, accentuating the fullness of her breast, and her shapely legs could be seen appearing from her long black skirt. I think she noticed me looking as she ended the conversation, flashed a little knowing smile at me, and in elegant strides moved to the piano, announcing Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor. The room took on a hushed solemnity as this girl with long, gently flowing red hair sat down at a magnificent German Schoenhardt concert grand piano of antique vintage. Her long fingers reaching the spools on the side of the bench, and with a few quick turns, she was ready. My breath caught in my throat, just at the sight of her regal, confident pose, exuding an almost sensual posture. With her back arched and her hands raised, she was ready to begin. She paused for a moment, as if waiting for a conductor's master signal to begin. Her focus was on the empty music rack, as if reading notes invisible to all but her. Then, for the briefest of seconds, our eyes once again met. I can't tell you what or why. We hadn't been even introduced. Yet in the fleeting instant that we locked on, her deep, piercing emerald eyes said, "This is for you." From that moment on, till the echo of the last chords faded from the room, as far as I was concerned, there was no one in that salon but the girl with red hair and me. Wrapped in a gossamer thread of light and sound, our lives at some level became bound as one. With a flourish, she launched into Rachmaninoff's Prelude for piano in C-sharp minor. In a fervor I had rarely witnessed before, the room filled with the sound as she hit, or rather should I say, she pounced on the lower register keys. I knew from almost the moment before her fingers landed, this was going to be no ordinary recital. The way she sat, the look on her face, radiating a quiet, commanding confidence that clearly said, I am in charge. The room reverberated with the opening chords, echoing off the heavily draped walls of the salon, each note powerfully and commendably executed. In rapt attention, I waited as she moved through the opening bars of the piece with precise execution. With stunning intensity, her hands began bouncing off the register. her fingers skating across the keyboard, taking me now to a soothing place of inner comfort, causing musical amnesia for the opening crash of chords that moments before shattered the room. Quietly, in a measured time, she drew me into her world. For a while, it seemed as though she was trying to lull into a mood of, how shall we say it, acceptance, that all is well with our world. I shall disabuse everyone here of that when it's my turn to speak, I thought. As the pace quickened, the intensity of the notes was only matched by her physical presence. I could see the perspiration build on her forehead as the room filled with the fragrance of lilac perfume. I couldn't help myself. Within me stirred an unquenchable desire. Suddenly, as it began, it was over. In a hushed whisper, she brought the prelude to climax, in a singing of tolling bell notes. Suddenly, filled with an inner release too wonderful for words, I felt the room breathe again, silence, and the burst of applause. I know it's absurd, but I had to be near her, to touch her, to hear her voice, there was something I needed to see for myself. I had never met this girl before, yet I felt somewhere deep inside that I knew her. I was certain. We had been together someplace, somewhere. She was almost like a memory of the future, yet seen before. When she finished, her eyes once again, ever so briefly, caught my gaze, and then she was gone.